What's up, everybody? This is Talkative Carl back again for the wrap up of Father's Day Movie Month review. Pushing forward, the next theme month won't come around till like near October when I'll have the holiday movie month. The Halloween movie month review uh, up and running, and then subsequently the Christmas stuff. So moving forward, it's just regular old films to review. Speaking of which, you gotta keep in mind week, next weekend, I will be doing like a full spoiler review of Thor: Love and Thunder. So look forward to that. Anywho, as you see, I got myself like a new head wrap, so now I don't have to worry about moving my hair out of my doggone face. You can see my face and everything like that. So here we go. Big Daddy, starring Adam Sandler, Leslie Mann, as well as Jon Stewart, Joey Lauren Adams, who I keep confusing for Jennifer Tilly because they both had those whispery voices, and it talks like this, and it's just very calming and soothing. And it's like I don't know. Rob Schneider, uh, Dylan and Cole Sprouse, who twins who played the character Julian, uh, and of course like Steve Buscemi. Now the film stars Adam Sandler playing Sonny Koufax, 30-year-old New Yorker who works at 1 week at a toll booth. Don't even know how that's even feasible, but things were different back, I guess, in the late 90s, early 2000s. But he already graduated law school, but he didn't take the bar exam. And the fact that I find it odd that he's surrounded by a lot of lawyers, except for his closest friend and roommate who is recently engaged to Leslie Mann's character, Corinne Maloney, who, of course, like it's not even just Adam Sandler movies, but it's just, he always got like some animosity towards, you gotta have some kind of rivalry slash like, somebody that he messed with, in particular. And it's because of this movie, I always, there's two things I quote from this movie, like the biggest two things I quote from this movie. And one being, when I go to the grocery store and I look at like the canned goods, I just want to smash it to the ground and just say like, Microsoft lost 3 points. Or I, like just, uh, said it to like a lot of girls like in high school and middle school, like Hooters, every time to get on my nerves. And I love this hell. I love the hell out of this movie because it's like, man, this is one of Adam Sandler's best works. Uh, he doesn't. It's like one of those rare gems where he doesn't have to play like a character within the movie. At a certain point, he just starts like tries to do this thing like Eddie Murphy done slash does in his films, where he's like gotta play like these off the wall wacky characters that by and large is just like cringy, but it was funny at a time. Don't get me wrong, we all laughed, but that's where like people's issue with like Adam Sandler and to Eddie Murphy's some of this laid at his feet too, where at a certain point, mid 2000s up to the late, uh, for a good chunk of period of time, they just like producing either crap or decent, okay movies, but doing the same shtick every time. There's like that was only funny back in the '90s, and like you still placating to that, and a lot of people like views on certain things that's funny has evolved over time. It's like telling like the same knock knock joke over and over again. It's or just knock knock jokes period, and it's like that was only funny for that one level at that 10 years ago. But yeah, this one is just like a good role of his. It's easily one of his best roles. Uh, well, without having to be like all serious drama, or it's still a comedy, but you know it's not, it's right in the middle of the road where it's just like with the movie Click he did, which is like probably the last good movie that I liked of his in a while. Uh, for his like a short stint with stuff that like I wasn't feeling at all up until like the past like 5 years, when he started getting good again. But where he just plays it straight, but he has comedic, like touches that we are so fond of him with back in the day. But uh Sonny, of course, is like he he does this a lot in a book of his movies. Not all of it, but it's just like you know, man child that can't seem to grow up, but he hooks up with like the hottest chick and who loves him. I mean, it's typical '80s stuff, and I think that's the issue. It's like you placated to like certain plots that work in the '80s and '90s, and it's like, yeah. I think like I said, in the past several years, he played to his strengths, but in a mature manner that works for the day and age. Uh, I still haven't seen Uncut Gems. So I really don't have any kind of interest in it, despite what people saying how good it's supposed to be. And not supposed to be. Argue. It's hard to argue by critics and general people who all say is good. So it's like it's not just one or the other. Usually it's like, oh, critics say this, but people say that, and you gotta follow one or the other, or that kind of splits your decision. No, all across the board, people love Uncut Gems. I just never felt the need to watch it. I don't really care to see it. It's just like with Stranger Things, I don't really care to see it. So I have not watched a lick of Stranger Things nor Uncut Gems. But anywho, of course, Sonny is typical slacker. It's like despite how intelligent he is, especially when a couple of his friends ask him, who are lawyers, who are stumped on this one case, and he gives them some advice that he clearly knows what he's doing, and he pulls like a legal strategy out of his ass, from like a particular case, long ago that will fit in this particular case. And, you see, like, yeah, it's like you have the intelligence, you're not applying yourself. Now, it don't get like the meat and potatoes. I want to say meat, not the meat and potatoes, but it's just like they really kind of didn't lean on as to why Sonny is like this. Like, why is he a slacker? It's like because I would even accept the fact that if they explain like, or at least make a line that says like, well, if you can't fail if you don't try, that kind of thing. Even though it's small and probably like, don't add much, but at least it'll be something. But he just seems like he's just slacking for no reason, or just not applying himself for just no inexplicable reason. Of course, he has like a $20,000 compensation from a slight injury for somebody run over his foot like years ago. So he's using that for the bulk of his like funds while he's living in this like loft with his roommate friend who's also a lawyer. But Sonny, who has or had or he thinks he has still a girlfriend who who's sick of his crap, which a lot of women would be. I mean, back when I was a kid, because I had a different viewpoint at that time, because like Adam Sandler was hilarious. I loved all of his films. You know, it's like at least like a couple of notches below Jim Carrey because I love Jim Carrey. I love all of his work. Adam Sandler is like at least a couple of notches below Jim Carrey in my opinion as far as my love of his roles. And I see this as a kid and I'm thinking like she's being mean. It's like, like you don't know what he's doing. Like, he's a nice guy and you obviously like him for some reason, otherwise you wouldn't be with him. But as an adult, you can see that, as you grow up, you come to realize uh, women want to be with a guy who's ambitious or at least got something to, do. He has to have some kind of stable job at the bare minimum. Uh, but it's like, it'd be nice to him actually apply himself and show some ambition because she just wants him just like he's getting like a call from his father, a lawyer father from Florida, who's like, hassling him about like, taking a bar exam and like doing something with his life. He's not trying to listen to anybody. Uh, night before, or at least during the party, Jon Stewart's character, Kevin Gates, pretty sure it's Kevin Gates, or is that like a basketball player? Greg Garrity. I'm saying Kevin Gates. That's a basketball player. Kevin Garrity is explained to him that you know, it was fun like goofing off and nobody's hassling you about finding a job back in the day, but it's like we all grew up. Basically, we got careers, we got lives. Like Kevin just proposed to Corinne. They want to like have like a relationship and a family, and it's like we and he's Sonny just feeling like he's being left behind, and it's like feeling like you're left behind because you're not playing stuff to move forward with them. uh the next day, knock on the door, some teen drops off uh Julian, and you just see the twins that who played Julian, Dylan and Cole. It's years ago, but I remember it was like a photo of like what it was one of those like internet searches, like what do these people look like now, and these dudes are like shredded. The last time I remember, they had like I could be like misremembering or confusing them with like Zach and Cody or something, but these guys are like uh uh, uh just like doing very took care of themselves very well. Because I'm pretty sure, yeah. I mean, uh, the last thing they did film wise was Kung Fu Magoo. Their first role was Big Daddy. It was an astronaut's wife. Uh, Diary of a Sex Addict. I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus, The Master of Disguise, Eight Crazy Nights, of course, as like KB Toy Soldiers, Applejack, Just for Kicks, The Heart and Deceitful Above All Things, Piggy Banks, Holidays, Modern Twain Story, Snow Buddies. Yeah, so like a lot of kid films. So I mean, like they do pretty well themselves, and it's like, yeah, and they did like plenty of, uh, wait a minute, they are Zach and Cody. What am I talking about? Oh my god, I was like, I'm sitting there confusing them with like twins. They are those twins, and they were Zach and Cody. My goodness. Uh, but anyway, they get dropped off at, well, he, the singular, he gets dropped off at the door. Julian, who is very bashful and everything like that, uh, he's just 5 years old, and his mom, left him to for uh, the dad, Kevin, to take care of, because we find out later she's like dying of cancer, so she just like figured it'd be best to leave, because it's supposed to be like they conceived Julian from a one night stand. You find out later, a long time ago, uh, at like a sports event. But since Kevin's not there, he's about to board a plane to China to handle like a legal case, and Sonny offers to look after the kid. So Sonny and the kid, just hang out, and it. This movie really, put in my brain like how much fun having like a kid would be, and just teaching him all him or her all these kind of fun stuff, and just it just we just just hanging out, and just like passing on little tidbits of wisdom and stuff like that, because I do that a lot with my cousins' kids. Is because last time I visited, I helped one of their sons, because it was roasting marshmallows in the back of my aunt and uncle's house, and like making s'mores, and I was like teaching him DJ thing. I was teaching DJ how to like roast a marshmallow evenly, just like our grandfather taught me when I was around his age. So like I'm just passing on that knowledge. It's like, and me and him have so much fun. I was like, I love that little boy to death. And it's like he was so excited when he sees me. It's like kind of like a fun uncle kind of situation, and just mess around with him, fill him with full of sugar, and leave him with his mother. And so because she hates that, because like just like messing with people, because typical cousin stuff, me and her. But yeah, I just thought it'd be like just of course it's not, as you learn from this movie, it's not always fun and games when raising a kid. Obviously, if anybody tells you otherwise, they're full of crap. Uh, but Julian, Sonny, get this bright idea that, oh, my girlfriend doesn't think I can be responsible, but once she sees me with this kid, then she will see me as responsible. Trying to do the flip effect of how like girls have kids thinking it'll fix the relationship. As his friends point out, it's like that's not how it works. It never pans out, man or woman. But of course, he doesn't listen to him. Calls up the Child Protective Services, pretending to be Kevin Garrity, and saying like, "Oh, I'll keep my kid." And of course, everything goes off fun at first, and it's tossing sticks, and you shouldn't be doing this, but I thought it's till this day still funny to me. It is tossing sticks in the middle of a pathway where rollerbladers come by and try to trip them up. You see, like Sonny is like just a big kid himself. It's like he goofs off and like whatever. And it's like I never pay attention to this, but there's a waitress at a bar earlier in the film that Sonny takes Julian to watch the game, the Jets game, I think, and the waitress who brings over root beer to them is Adam Sandler's actual wife, which it never dawned on me what she looked like. Of course, I could easily have looked it up, but but that's who she is. And of course, like, you see like the typical thing with like little, especially kids of that age, where he peeing in the bed, and like, of course, Sonny, not knowing how to deal with this properly, or at least showing his, I won't say immaturity, but lack of responsibility by just, oh, I'll just cover this mess with newspaper and call it a day. Uh, but then, that rustling around, that's obviously not going to keep him asleep. So they get up kind of early, and Julian tries to make himself cereal. And, gallon of milk's too heavy, spills, and he starts crying. It's like, think he's going to be in trouble, and you know, Adam. I mean, not Adam. Sonny is like, don't freak out, kids. Not a big deal. Like he put more newspaper on the ground, and of course you see like Julian eventually like adopts these like little teaching them mannerisms from Sonny, like that. Oh, I'll cover a mess with newspaper and call it a day. But uh, upon hurting himself, because there's like little kids, they leave toys around, so you end up accidentally stepping on these things and hurting yourself, and this makes Julian laugh and stop crying. And they decide, okay, we'll go to uh, McDonald's for breakfast because you know uh, uh, I don't, because like they mentioned this in the movie, like I don't know when did McDonald's start doing the serving breakfast part in their restaurant repertoire. Because according to the movie, when Sonny was little, you know, uh, he doesn't recall them having certain things, and it just all of a sudden was there. Excuse me, because I like to say they started in the 70s. Uh, but anyway, you also see like Sonny teaching Julian how to tie his shoes because he doesn't know how to tie his shoes properly yet. You loop it, you swoop it, and you pull. Now, I've been tying my shoes since I was Julian's age, and God help me, I cannot walk you through like the process. I just do it. It's like if I have to teach somebody how to tie their shoes, I'm gonna fumble through my words because I just end up just doing it because it's this muscle memory. You just like asking somebody how do you uh uh I had like an example, but just like how do you walk? I don't know, you just stand up and just move your legs. It's like it's not really that much of a instruction manual about it, but it was like a nice little moment. It's like that's at that point he's being like a actual dad without him noticing that he's doing it. It's like that's a dad thing. He feel like he's being like the kid's big buddy, but it's like you also inadvertently teaching him life skills. And it's funny moments when he's like, kids trying needs to go use the bathroom, and some idiot restaurateur just won't let the kid go inside to use the bathroom really quick. So, like, I still coincide on this because screw that guy. If you can't allow a 5-year-old to take a moment in the bathroom, which I'm pretty sure it was a thing back then, but it's like there's no place that have bathrooms where they won't allow you to come in and use it. But of course, Sonny and Julian just pee on the side of the building, and this inadvertently teaches Julian like, oh, just pee anywhere you want to, without actually going to the bathroom and doing it, which he later teaches Julian how to do so properly. But of course, it took a good minute before Julian felt comfortable or doing things on his own without Sonny being there next to him, which I'm pretty sure we all been there when we were Julian's age. It's like I remember, like I could say it's kindergarten. Like I vaguely remember it being kindergarten or first grade. It had to be kindergarten. But when my father dropped me off at at school, because I was clingy to my father, I just freak, you know, when because I understood when he had to go to work, but when he did not have to, there's no reason why he had to leave. Because like he literally had to like had somebody else distract me because he did that with me and my other brothers when we was that age. It was like because we all like are daddy's boys, and it's like I just like he had to stand in the doorway as like because I had to go into school and teachers said I had to you know they all told me I had to go to school and my father couldn't stay there with me. Was yeah, it sucked, but it obviously you can't have your parents sitting there with you all the time. So like I was quiet. Like, I'm a like introvert. Like I just like kept to myself. It it takes a while before I'm comfortable with being chatty with somebody. I gotta warm up to you before we get to that point of me just talking with you. Because once I do, then like I talk your ear off. But it's like or on rare occasions, and it only happens with like a very I won't say very few, but like at least a decent chunk of people that I know that I like instantly, gravitate to this. Like we click because we just get each other immediately. It happened with my friend Anita, when like that I met in Vegas that like we chatted, along with me and a couple of her like her guy and her friend, one of her girlfriends, uh, like a long time ago, and like we just like, we just hit it off, and like we just like we were like, we connected, and it was just fun, great friendship, and with my friend Sherelle, because mostly because I think like when it comes to Virgos and me being a Taurus, we just instantly like just get along automatically. There's no warm up needed. Uh, there's a couple of my other friends like Elijah and his girlfriend Emily. Those, those would be like the examples I can get off the top of my head of people I immediately click with. Almost anybody else, it took me a while to warm up to. That like if I didn't know you familial wise, I just wait until like I get a feel for you before we get to that point. And I cannot stand it when somebody trying to rush that on me. That turns me the heck off. I just makes me rebuff you more because like I don't know you like that. Don't force it on me. Otherwise, I don't care to talk with you. I'll try to ignore you if I could. I'll be cordial if you say hi, and I'll say hi back. I'm not an asshole, but it's just like, no, do not do that. Anywho, uh, uh, Julian and Sonny go to meet, uh, Sonny's girlfriend, who he ended up finding out like, uh, she's moved on to this guy who's like 30 years her senior, because she wanted like a mature guy with like a actual plan. He has like some kind of 5 year plan. Wasn't explicit about it, but she just went along with it. Not saying like a woman who can't be with a guy of a certain age without it being just about like you know financial gain or anything like that. But it's just like you went you know you didn't give like of course like Sonny was livid, but you didn't give this Sonny at least I want to say man up, but be the adult about it and tell Sonny to his face like it's over. You gave him the wrong impression that there's still a thing between you two. You just gave him you kind of gave him an ultimatum, but You just went along with like, oh, I'll just hook up with this other guy, and done is done. And then she had a nerve saying like, you gotta have the feeling, you had to feel, you had to know something like this was coming. No, why would you think that? Why would you think that? Like, as long as you know this guy, what makes you think he was that clairvoyant to pick up those social cues like that to read your mind that quickly? No, you just did not had a courage to go to him and end the relationship if you personally felt like it wasn't going anywhere. So, uh, Sonny, of course, like uh, feeling down in the dumps, now realizing that his plan using Julian to like fix the relationship isn't panning out, and he's going to the child services and let them know like oh it's not panning out, which is bonkers to me. Like, why would you do that? Even as a kid, I thought that was weird. Of course, he's you know saddened, but it's like not saying that you can't do it, but it's like you got the kid now, and the kid's attached to you. It's just like what your friends warned you about. It's like once you saw this, like when you went to the pet store, you saw this like a dog, and they had to tell you about like what it's like. You gotta feed it, walk it, take care of it, bathe it, and all the other stuff. And it's like once you go through all that, then you had like a second thought, and it's basically the same. Like they said, it's basically the same thing, but with a human. And now you're, regretting it. But it's like unlike the puppy who will, with the attention span that it has, it won't it won't like after a certain period won't I'm gonna say it won't recall you because with dogs with sense and what have you, but it's like eventually it will forget. Kids will have especially Julian's age, who's not a baby anymore technically, and he's able to talk and have perfect recall. He won't forget you, especially after the big time y'all had. So obviously because he's in over his head, and now he's like calling his father, I guess, looking for advice or help. And I don't care for the father in this because you can have like a hard case of a father character, but show that there's something behind that hard exterior. But no, he seems like just like a tough as nails, no nonsense guy with no heart. It's like, or at least when he's trying to like show heart at the end, it's like it fell flat for me because like you didn't give me an inkling that you give a crap about your son. You just yelled at him 95% of the time out of this entire film whenever you are appearing. And it's like you telling him like the kid will be, off, would be better off being living in a dumpster than being with him. Like, what did you expect the reaction from your kid to be hearing that? So like, yeah, I don't think that's like uh like a healthy response in general. Yeah, I get you want your son to, get his nose to the grindstone and all the other stuff, but your approach is, it's sloppy, it's pathetic. It's no wonder he like resists you every time you have like a conversation. Anything you suggest will be met with like resistance because you behave that way. So like the social services person like mentions like you know we'll just pretend like you didn't come in here, but because like you know he sees that Julian learned how to tie his shoes by himself, and he's like saying he's like very proud. He's like, oh my god, like I taught him that. And like the social worker seeing this is like, I will try to in the meantime look for like a new family, but we'll just pretend like you didn't walk in here blase, 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 and just like look after the kid rather than him being stuck in a system waiting for these people to come pick him up. Uh, but all that while, like Julian and Sonny's getting closer. They, you know, after that big blow up he had with his father, he just decided, which is not a good parenting thing. At least I say that because even as a kid, and I still kind of agree now, there are some aspects in this part with Sonny's teaching. I personally think it's somewhat okay, but it's just like certain executions were bad. But the other part is just flat out wrong. Like, for one thing, because he told him like Julian, like, because he's making a joke with this goth kid who walking by. And it's like, you know, uh, fathers aren't always cracked up to be. My father always tell me what to do. He won't let me figure things out for myself, which is a point to make, and something you should acknowledge with your kids. Like, yeah, let your kids figure things out for themselves, but just be there for them when they need you. But you can't micromanage every bit of their life. Some stuff, obviously, but not every little thing. It just seems like that's what Sonny's father is behaving like. Like you can just tell just by their interaction that his upbringing has always been hard. And but another thing about Julian doesn't like Julian. He's like, I want to call myself Frankenstein, which goes to show like sometimes you can't let children of this age make certain decisions from themselves. Wherever it comes out their mouth isn't always something that you should just agree to because that's what they're feeling. It's a phase. I hate to bring it to this, but it's like certain kids these days who saying like, because they got friends who are part of like the LGBT community or like just trans community in general, saying like I feel like a boy or I feel like a girl, and it's like you're 5. You don't feel like anything. You can feel like you're like a sailor, or you can feel like you're like a Powerpuff Girl, or like a starship, on a part of the Enterprise for all they care. You're 5. You don't know any better yet, and that's what like is my personal viewpoint on this. Personal viewpoint, my opinion. If my future kid, 5 years old, telling me like he feels like he's a girl on the inside, I'm like, I'm not gonna dismiss it, but I'm just gonna like just ease up on a bit. Just do your thing. Just play with your toys or whatever, or like hang with your friends or whatever. Be a kid. Come 18 years old, like coming back to me saying like, by then they feel like a girl on the inside, I'll be more inclined to listen because by that point they have some level of maturity and understanding of what they feel like they are. That's just my take on it. 5, at least anything below age, 16 and younger, that's not good enough for me. And it really shouldn't be good enough for anybody, even if you're part of the LGBTQ plus community. Your kid tell you one thing and they're age 16 and under, give it until at least 18. This is my opinion. You don't have to do it, obviously. I'm just saying stuff, but it's like at least give it to 18, bare minimums. At least by that point you can take what they say seriously, because all certain phases will like be phased out by that point. This is like whoever they into by that point moving forward is actual serious thing until they say otherwise. But Julie won't be called Frankenstein, but Sonny like, okay, we'll roll with that. Julian wants to dress how he dresses. He walking around in like galoshes and his like tie around his head, and I think he was wearing like his sleeping clothes. And it's like, it reminds me of like Jaden Smith when he walked around down the street years ago wearing like a full body Iron Man pajama clothes. And I'm thinking to myself, that's bizarre. I think a lot of people thought that way, but it's like, it's like, Will and Jada's kid, so whatever. But still, unless that, I doubt that store was like down the street because they live in like a gated community. You have to actually either drive or take a significant walk to go to any kind of nearby store to shop. So obviously, that's not just like, oh, because I'm wearing sleeping clothes right now. See, I'm wearing sleeping clothes right now. More specifically, Bob's Burgers, and there's like I live in like uh what do you call it, like uh uh I'm blanking on what you call it, just like a bunch of apartments in like a particular area, uh and out of the area, just like across the street, around the corner, there's a couple of stores. I can walk there wearing what I have and come right back because it's not worth for me to actually put on jeans if I don't feel like it, kind of thing. But uh, so Julie and Sonny play baseball together. It's like a typical father son thing. It's cute. You have to get Julie in like a uh, uh, full body like catcher's gear, and it just is funny to me. So it's like these two just hanging out, but then while with his Sonny's friends, Julian said like, I want to go to school, and it's like it was shocking because not many kids will say that, and Sonny was like proud. It's like see, like I don't force it on him, makes the right decisions. There's no guarantee with that. You just have to find like a kid that's actually probably intrigued by the idea of school because he sees a bunch of other kids going off to that stuff probably. But he enrolls him in school that next by that following Monday. But it's like you don't recall that you arranged to make sure that somebody takes this kid off your hands eventually. And then on another thing, what about your friend Kevin? It's like, because it doesn't appear that at any point he mentions like he doesn't, because I guess Sonny kind of took it where it's like he doesn't think this is probably his kid, or he doesn't believe it could be his kid. But you couldn't let your friend, make that decision himself when he gets back from China to take a look at his kid and question his kid and like check some files. No, you just make a lot of these decisions upon yourself. Where the kid is going with a foster family or not. You just completely ignored your friend. But another thing, I'm not sure if anybody out there who has kids, is it a thing to actually schedule your or enroll a kid of your own into right in the middle of a school semester? Because like I think it's like first, second grade. I think that's the age group Julian should be in as far as like school is concerned. But it's like, again, you see like a Halloween segment, so you can tell like this is fall period. But it's like, how do you just like enroll a kid in the middle of like a school period? The enrollment starts like during a spring and summer, so he'll be enrolled with his name and all these credentials that's involved. That's just mean. It doesn't make any sense. But his teeth. I mean, this is where like the point where it's like I recall my father. When I was like around Julian's age, and he's leaving me at the school. He stand in the middle of the doorway, telling me I have to come to school, and I was freaked because like I remember being so freaked as Julian's age, and it's like I was so terrified because like I was clingy to my father, and it's like you know, I don't know any of these people. I come to the school and learn stuff, and it's like, oh God, it's like you know, I, I'm pretty sure we all been there when you with your parent or guardian, whoever was raising you, and you freaked at Julian's age whenever they have to leave you at that school. But Julian's a tougher kid who's, well, even though he had to use shades to, like, pretend to be invisible, so because he's kind of an introvert too, just like me, so he has to warm up to people. Then he takes off the glasses, like, oh, I can talk to you now. You're not scary. So you see this little black kid saying, like, like, I like your glasses, and it's like, thanks. And you see this nice little interaction. Julian's, he warms up to people quickly, if given the chance. And he already has like a few kids on like the playground and stuff like that. Oh, by the way, Sonny ends up using it, which is obviously like a go-to move for a lot of guys who have like nieces or nephews or whatever, and use them or friends' kid, to use them as like a pawn in order to get like attention of a woman. And this is straight up funny to me, where he's like just running, just running up to Corinne's sister Layla, and like, help me, I can't find my way out. It's so, and the kid is so cute with like little voice, like, please don't do this to me. And it's like, oh my God, that and then the way he pronounces caterpillar, caterpillar. What is it like? Yeah, it's a caterpillar. Yeah, a caterpillar. It's it's hilarious. There's so few good child actors of this age, mind you, that just like fit the narrative. They're not just there to be cute, like you see in like Hallmark Christmas movies, where it's like they have no agency but just be cute and like be happy and talk happy, and like, I like him, I like her. Oh, can you stay and cook? Help us cook Christmas cookies? Yay! And, and that's all you get from like Julian. Is like a great example of a good kid in a movie that's like more than just a prop, and I love that. It's like, this is like a prime example. This, and like the actress who's playing like Princess Leia, she's in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. That's a good example of like good child actors of this age that get the right director. That can work with these kids, and like, and Taika Waititi with like those kids from Jojo Rabbit. That's another example of like good child actors that you get the right director and people behind the scenes and right managers and parents involved. It's not like the days of old when like you get like what's his name from Terminator 2 or Jake Lloyd situation, where they didn't have, unfortunately, they did not have like the right people looking after their best interests back in like the 80s and 90s, like someone should have. And I think like over the years, things evolved and progressed to where like this is like a with child labor and everything like that. This is like a thing that has to be dealt with very seriously and handled with kid gloves, pardon the pun. So where was I? uh 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 uh, Sonny and Layla are starting to form a bond, and they're getting along great. She's, unfortunately, she's not, as far as, so far as like Adam Sandler movie love interest. She unfortunately doesn't rise to the same. I mean, she's a beautiful woman. She didn't rise to the same, like, I don't think many people remember Layla as they do with like Drew Barrymore's character or Forresta Buck's character in like movies like Wedding Singer and Waterboy. But I think I mean, if people who are huge fans are Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison, I'm pretty sure they recall those two love interests better. I cannot recall because they all kind of, most of them kind of blend together because both of them are like just blonde women. Uh, but also Winona Ryder's character in Mr. Deeds, she's great too. Uh, I like the character of Layla. She is fantastic and she's very charismatic. And uh, I think that's what Sunny needed because like she's you know sweet and charming. Sister Corinne, but like she's sweet and charming, and it just brings. There's a certain type of woman that brings out a certain thing in a guy that he probably lacked before. There's like certain motive, the right woman can motivate a guy to do a lot of things that he forgets or chooses not to do, but she gives you that encouragement without, because that's the thing. She is encouraging, not chastising. Like Sonny's ex girlfriend and his father, where they more so went the wrong approach. Because sometimes people feed off of that harsh criticisms, and some people like me, who are more geared to people who handle with sincerity and like understanding, and like choose to be patient and work with the person's speed and not like you know naggy, because hardly anybody responds well to naggy demanding commands. uh and after uh a date they go on, uh they share a kiss one time, and it's a nice little funny scene where Corinne walks in and see like oh my god, did I witness the first kiss? Oh honey, you didn't really enjoy that, did you? And it's like, I still quote this too, and like I remember telling like a friend of mine, it's like Pleasant Hooters. It's, oh my god, it's like it still gets me. It's obviously it was the time, but it's like matter of fact, speaking of Hooters, even though it looked like they kind of pretty much, uh, you know, uh, product placement for this movie, I don't like Hooters. I mean, I like the wait staff at Hooters, but the food at Hooters, like the chicken, I'm not a fan of. Like my father thinks I'm crazy, but it's like I remember when he brought home, like it was years ago, when he brought home Hooters chicken for dinner, and they look like they always seem soggy from the condensation from the packaging, and it's like, yeah, and it's like it's not, it's not even baked or fried. It's like just soggy, like the condensation just like was absorbed by the chicken, and it's like doesn't make it appealing at all. I'm not a fan of Hooters. Like I think it's been like I only went to Hooters maybe like twice, maybe three times in my entire adult life, but so few and far between all that stuff, and it's like it wasn't that long. I didn't actually sit down and stayed. I know actually I think once I sit down and stay. The other couple of times it was just like pick up and go kind of thing. But it's a cool atmosphere. Don't get me wrong. It's a cool atmosphere for obvious reasons. But it is just like, I don't know. The food there stinks, man. Uh, I joke, it's like maybe because it stinks because nobody goes there for the food. Uh, so they can half-ass the food half the time. Uh, but anywho, any Hooters. Uh, uh, the social worker keeps calling and like trying to wait for a call back from Sonny about, like, cause he left a message, tons of messages about finding like a family for Julian, but he hasn't been getting any kind of calls back from Sonny because Sonny's been like getting used to raising Julian, taking the Halloween, and like it's from. I still remember this from the trailer because it's so funny. Whereas like Julian, oh, I forgot, almost forgot about the kangaroo song scene. That one was so hilarious because me as a kid, you even thought this kid is bonkers, man. Because like, because I wasn't a kid, that kind of kid. Like I said, I was an introvert, but it's like because he had this kangaroo song, this like guy dressed as a kangaroo. It's kind of like the, uh, like that movie's version of like Barney and Friends kind of thing. Like it's like the Julian's hyper and jumping up and down on like a bouncy ball thing, and it's like I was annoying Sonny as he's trying to watch a hockey game and mocking him. I was like what are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, I see what you're doing. Oh, I see what you're doing. Okay, cut it out. Cut it out. And it's like, how much would woodchuck chuck when woodchuck would? That's what I thought. Beat it. Like, then Julian eats food just to keep him quiet. And it's like, yeah, you're raising a kid. They're going to be hyper and all over the place. And you won't probably get a moment's peace. But then, like, Julian wakes up and gives Sonny a tape to, of this kangaroo, kids show. And he's jumping up and down like, hop, hop, hop on all day. Hop, 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 what do you say? And then all that food and him jumping around, he ended up puking on the ground. Oh, but it's like, before all that, like, like, Sonny's trying to tell the kid about how important the hockey game is. And Julian just freaking out like, kangaroo song, kangaroo song, kangaroo song, all right. God, you was normal yesterday. I use that line a lot on my ex. Every time when I'm trying to play my video games and she wants attention, all of a sudden, when it's like, I was, just being left to my devices here. And then all of a sudden she needs, that attention. It wasn't even talking about much half the time, but you just, like, what are you doing? And it's like, I'm just playing again. Give me 5 minutes. It's like, no, pay attention to me. Pay attention to me. And it's like, all right. God, you was normal when I first met you. God, like, you was normal when I first met you. God. It's like, oh my God, I love that scene. It's so hilarious. So on Halloween, Julian dressed as the kangaroo guy, and they go to his house to for trick or treating, and the guy living in the loft turns out to be the director of the film. I never knew that. I just found it out when I was doing the review. Rewatching this film for the review, and like you see if you remember from the trailer when he flips off Sonny, is like, hey, we got a first timer out there. Do the right thing, buddy. And he just flips off the Sonny. It's like Sonny is looking at him like, this motherfucker. And it's like, he goes around back, breaks in the guy's house. I don't know how he got in. Excuse me. Excuse me. And it's just like a funny, memorable moment as a child when I saw this trailer when he just comes out of the back out of nowhere. It's like, hey, buddy. It freaks out the guy in the house. If it was like a black guy, I'm pretty sure it was cops be called and somebody getting shot. But, so he bullies the homeowner into giving, Julian his, cereal and a bunch of CDs, and just, tells the guy like, next time be prepared, man. That was funny. That was an incredible scene. So, after, things going smoothly, but then the social worker comes back realizing that uh, Sonny's not who he said he was. So in lieu of calling the cops, he demanded that he hand over Julian into his custody so he can find like a suitable home, or at least wait until the real Kevin Garrity arrives home to deal with this matter himself. Which obviously upset both Sonny and Julian, because Julian's freaking out because like he sees Sonny as his father, and it's like just heartbreaking to see this little 5-year-old being ripped away from a pseudo father. And Sonny went on his way to like ask, almost, ask his girlfriend Layla for help, and uh, they go to court. This is not like like a criminal case. This is like a custody case kind of situation. So there's no jury. So the judge ultimately making this kind of decision. But you see like a lot of his friends and even Kevin showed up to offer his support, which the child custody people, they got their lawyers and raising a stink like, can we find somebody that's not like a buddy of Mr. Kevin Lomax? But so they question Julian and like Corinne, who and like of course Rob Schneider's character, who obviously, yes, plays some kind of ethnic guy, obviously in brown skin. Not like obviously, well, it's kind of obvious, but it's not like glaringly kind of like, it's just like ambiguous, kind of, let's put it that way. So you can't really say, I mean, it's offensive to a degree, but not enough to say like to one particular person. He's just like a random ethnic guy from some made up country. So it is a delivery guy, this best friends with Sonny. And each remarked, the relationship they had with Sonny had with Julian, and it's all very positive. But then, since Sonny's father arrived from Florida in court, and Sonny get the bright idea to have his father, in lieu of his friends, his father, being not antagonistic, but not like all rah rah for him. He can be like impartial, and like do his job and question Sonny, which here. Well, I want to point out, I've been thinking about this all day to talk about this particular part, and it reminds me of, well, two things, but three things from other shows on YouTube that I watched a lot and am huge fans of. Dr. Mike's Legal Eagle and Cinema Therapy. Dr. Mike, if you watch, like, does this like chest compressions, chest compressions, chest compressions. Every time I watch anything doctor related, whether it's from a show or a movie, and like I see somebody, who are not administering proper CPR, or at least, like they checking vitals and like looking at EKG and stuff like that. Have you tried chest compressions? Chest compressions, chest compressions, chest compressions. So important. But there's not nothing to do with that here in this movie. But the other two are, one, Legal Eagle. I watched a lot of his stuff. Very good. And I love his content. Highly recommend, especially when it comes to critiquing courtroom scenes in like movies and TV shows. And many of his stuff always, because like if you see a lot of times where it's like, two major things that you see in this film. One, the lawyers, well, at least nobody in general aren't allowed in the well or near like the jury area, near that spot. The bailiff will tackle you. Do not do that. The judge hates that. Every judge will hate that, and there'll be a mark against you. Do not do that. Second, when you're questioning the person on the witness stand, as Sonny's father is questioning Sonny, is very attacking, is badgering, I should say, and what's transpiring on many times legal critiques that, and that's not how you will behave. And you cannot enter the well. He's too close. Whether it's your son or not, you can't do that. And it's like also cinema therapy. It comes a relationship between like a lot of people, but like in this particular moment, father and son. The way throughout the scenes we've seen Sonny's father, but in this one in particular, where he is so antagonistic and demanding and like he just he plays in a Sonny kind of makes it like puts his hands on his father's hand, and it's like, I know you worry, but like because you worry about me, but it's like I got a beautiful girlfriend, she's my sugar mama, and like we love each other and like crazy, and like I love his kid, and like I won't fail at being a father. I never have to worry about that because I would die for this kid, which is sweet. But it just first of all, you having this kind of like this big come to Jesus moment between you two, which is touching. But it's like, I don't know, like this would like be allowed to. I'm not a lawyer, but like as far as I can tell, I don't think this kind of thing would be allowed to carry on to stay to the matter at hand kind of situation. But more importantly, Sonny's father, the way he carries on and just like leans in and like he's a bum, Your Honor. It's like mouthing nothing and it's like it ends on a happy note, but realistically, that's not. I won't say he's not a good father, but it's just like that kind of stuff. Will leave a relationship between your kid very strained if that's how you carry on. And it's like is another part about like Layla brings up a bit about her past with her father, who pretty much like abandoned her mother, who had to like find a job to help raise her. And that's why she worked so hard as a lawyer, so she can be able to take care of herself and all the other stuff, because she never have a father to do his fatherly duties as a parent, which is like a nice little compare and contrast. And I can't really mark Kevin as like a bad father because he didn't know, but he should have. Even though Sonny said he would take care of it, I'm not sure how big and important that job was, because he was already at the airport. But it's like he should be like wrapping it up, or at least handle the big stuff. I'm not sure. Like, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not sure like they never mentioned what the case was. But if it's all the way in China, I'm pretty sure he should have like a team behind him or something there, where like I'll handle like the important stuff, but like the tidy up, the bow wrap part of it, I can leave it with my associates. I gotta head back. I got an emergency situation, and so he can handle what's going on with Julian, because that is his kid, which he comes up in his courtroom and fesses up, which I'm not sure, because I guess he wasn't sure, so he doesn't feel like he should be fessing up, but he should just be fessing up and say like, because he's say like, I refuse to press any charges, Your Honor, that kind of thing, so Sonny won't be like put in prison for what he did. But watching legal eagle and similar therapy, have me very focused on like how things when it comes to like certain scenes between like relationships or legal stuff, I've been a little bit more constantly aware about like certain dynamics and what do's and don'ts, and you know, like how accurate or inaccurate, all that other stuff. And like, yeah, I do, even as a kid, I hated Sonny's father. It's like he didn't come off charismatic. He didn't, despite his heart, like I said, his art exterior could easily had at some point earlier in the film. You can, I doubt it was in a deleted scene anywhere on any kind of DVD or Blu-rays, but like some kind of scene would have been helpful, showing that, they mentioned he still has a mother around, but he's never seen her. But like have some kind of moment between like the parents saying like, like mentioning how he's worried about that kid, and like I should have done this and that and the other, and he wouldn't end up like this. Showing that he still cares, but he's having a hard time expressing that to his son. Something like that would have make what happened in the end play out better for me. But as far as I'm concerned, he is like in the most disliked character out of this movie, that like in my eyes. Uh, uh, but Julian and Sonny share a hug. Sonny tells Julian like, I may not be able to be your father, but I can be your best friend. And a year, 3 months go by, in which like a lot happened pretty fast, even though it's 1 year. Sonny and Layla get married. Sonny took the bar exam. He's a lawyer now. He's like, actually like got his nose to the grindstone, and like so, and then he has like a baby boy between him and Layla. So a lot has happened within like a course of a year. Uh, but they all have this big birthday party for Sonny at Hooters, and they bump into Sonny's ex-girlfriend who works there, and her old man boyfriend, whose 5-year point plan fell through the cracks, and now he's working as a cook at the Hooters restaurant, which is hilarious. But at the same time, now that I'm a little bit older, still hilarious. But it's like, didn't really need to. Well, I guess you wanted to know like what happened to them, but it's like, wow, you really got to put them in like a sucky position. You could, it may have fell through, but you don't have to have her working at a Hooters. You can have her like having to be there, but she just moved on. Maybe not with this old man Sid character, but it's like found like a different guy and moved on. She happy and stuff like that. Like that could have been like a more satisfying thing, but I guess it would be less funny. But yeah, that is Big Daddy. Like I said, it still holds up. It's a classic Adam Sandler film. Fun with the family. But yeah, definitely highly recommend it. It's nice fun revisiting certain films that I haven't seen in so long. But anywho, next week look forward to Thor: Love and Thunder for my movie review of that, and I think another movie, something I've been having sitting in the waiting pool for quite some time during the whole course of the Star Wars movie and TV show reviews that I was doing earlier in the year in preparation for a Kenobi series. So I want to try to get onto that at the same time too. So anywho, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. The support will be greatly appreciated. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys thought of Big Daddy, if you've seen it recently or if you've seen it at all. Like, what was your favorite parts and what was your not favorite parts. But if you haven't seen this in years, go back to it. Check it out. It's a nice little, like, so you can recall like the great hits of Adam Sandler. Big Daddy being in the top, 10 easily. I think, like, honestly, I actually like Little Nicky, and not many people like Little Nicky. I dig Little Nicky. That was fun. But I think like Click is up there. The first Hotel Transylvania, I think I put Hotel Transylvania 1 and 2 up there at the same level. Uh, Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison, Mr. Deeds, all fantastic Adam Sandler films. And of course, like The Week Of, which I did a review of a week ago, or 2 weeks ago, you can check that out on the channel as well. That is actually a pretty good Adam Sandler film. But anywho, I will see you guys. I thought I might squeeze in some time for more Final Fantasy, but I might just take care of that. If not tomorrow, the next day after work. So, anywho, I will see you guys later. Have a great evening. Take care.